13, the max extension to stay in LA in an attempt to unseat the Lakers for the NBA title. The 4-year extension means that 30-year-old Paul George will be a Clipper through the prime of his career. Kawhi's 29, locked up only through this season, becoming a free agent in 2021. Kendrick Perkins back here with us. Stephen A., starting with you. If PG-13 and Kawhi are at their best, can they beat the Lakers this season?
I think if they're at their best, first of all, I don't think anybody's going to beat the Lakers. But if they're at their best, I think they've got a shot. Is it this Kawhi Leonard? I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Kendrick Perkins. Is it Kawhi Leonard the best player on the planet? Oops, I'm sorry. Or was it whoops, Kendrick Perkins? I'm not sure what Max was saying. I'm not sure, Kendrick. But if Kawhi Leonard without the oops or the whoops, if Kawhi Leonard without the whoops or the oops is the best player in the world, and Paul George is hell-bent on resurrecting himself, this ain't the 70s or the 80s or even the 90s where you could throw it down low to Shaq and, drop step elbows yamming on your mug. It's a new day. It's a new era. Perimeter play on an extremely high level can knock off a lot of people, and no matter how great they are. I'm saying that's what it would take. I don't think it will happen by any stretch of the imagination. I got the Lakers as a favorite by damn near a mile. But if the best of PG and the best of Kawhi showed up, it could be very, very interesting.
I hate to do it, Stephen A., but I agree with you here. Loath as I am to agree with you. I think they could. Here's the problem. I don't believe in Paul George in the playoffs. So, the answer is no. But if Paul George played as well as he could play in the playoffs, if he elevated somehow, because some players actually elevate in the playoffs, like usually Kawhi Leonard. In fact, he did it again in these playoffs, except for in that Game 7. And I know, Perk, you thought I was wrong and you were right about LeBron no longer being the best, but you had Kawhi as second best. I mean, Kawhi is an elite MVP caliber player, and when it matters most, he's usually among the best you'll ever see in the playoffs. So you have that. Can Paul George do something like that? Paul George in the regular season ain't that much worse than Kawhi. Can he be some version of Kawhi in the playoffs? Because then when you look at the team, look, LeBron's not going to be young forever, right? Eventually, you would think, all people decline with age eventually. Stephen A. just brought it up, the perimeter game. Two attacking wings, two-way wings especially, that's tough to beat. Jordan and Pippen and LeBron and D. Wade, right? That's tough to beat. And then you look at what else the Clippers did. Ibaka can defend and shoot. So can Morris. Defend and shoot. Kennard is an upgrade over Shamet. He could do more things, and he can also shoot. They have shooting. And then finally, the Lakers lost Rondo. I like the Schroeder move a lot. I think Schroeder's an upgrade during the regular season. It remains to be seen in the playoffs, because one thing we know about Rondo is playoff Rondo is real. When it came down to it, the Lakers had two MVP caliber players and an all-star caliber player in Rondo. Rondo's not there anymore. So would it be possible? Yes, it would be possible.
Hell no. Hell no. Look, Kawhi at his best and PG at his best is not matching up with LeBron James and Anthony Davis at their best. And Stephen, I heard you go to the point when you was talking about how it's a perimeter league now where it's guard play and wings. Well, look, it's Anthony Davis. He is a Shaquille O'Neal. He is a Kevin Garnett. He is a generational talent, something that we never seen before. And the worst thing that could have happened to the NBA, not just the Clippers, but the entire NBA, is that AD got to test the waters and went all the way to win a championship, meaning he went through the highs and the lows of being battle tested and testing those waters. So when you look at what Anthony Davis was doing in the playoffs, what he did to Portland, what he did to Houston, what he did to Denver, he killed those bigs in the low post. He took them outside. He did everything he wanted to do. At his best, at Anthony Davis' best, he is arguably the best player in the league and could possibly be an MVP candidate for the next 5 years. And by the way, this is a guy just hitting his prime at 27 years old. So, no, I'm looking at Anthony Davis, and he's the common denominator in this whole argument. He is the best in the league for us being able to use his skill set at that height being able to defend 1 through 5s on the defensive end, and he is the one that separates the two between the Lakers and the Clippers.
Well, KP, it's something important that I want you to recognize here. First of all, the question was PG and Kawhi's best game. That's number one. Number two, we're still not picking them to beat the Lakers. Nobody's picking them to beat the Lakers. We understand that the Lakers are better. Nobody's disputing that. Yeah, but what I'm saying is when you look at PG and Kawhi, let's pay attention to something. When we ask the question, their best, we're assuming in terms of their best on both ends of the floor, defensively and offensively. And even though there is no answer for AD, you have to remember they're stronger because you ain't taking AD down low. You're not going to be a monster in the interior with him. The nightmare for him is somebody that can jack up shots from long range and somehow, some way, even if their eyes are closed and they pray and somehow it's going in from 30. That's the problem for AD. That's the problem for LeBron. And what I'm saying is, even though I don't believe for 1 second it's going to happen, if you have two guys that can play on an elite level like they're capable of playing, and they bring their A-plus game to the equation, I will say this, the Clippers are the number one threat to the Lakers under those circumstances. Would you say that?
No, not really. No, I would not say that because for the simple fact that, Stephen A., you go back to the first series that the Lakers played the Portland Trail Blazers in Game 1. Right. He was telling Anthony Davis that he needs to dominate in the interior. Game 2, he did just that. And he carried it on. Even in the Rocket series, he was dominating in the paint, getting dunk after dunk, setting up shop on the low block. And that's what I'm saying. AD at his best is better than a Paul George at his best. Now, you could say Kawhi
I know that.
At their best maybe wash each other out. And then what I'm saying is, on top of that, the Lakers have the better roster. How do you win the championship and you go and upgrade more than the Los Angeles Clippers, who didn't even meet that goal?
All right, the Lakers won 2 of 3 against the Clippers last season, but all games were close, but decided by 10 points or less. We're going to continue this conversation after the break here on First Take. Also this, Jalen Hurts.
Regular season. How much will we be seeing LeBron and AD during the preseason, if at all?
I would guess one half of one game. I don't think we'll see him in the next game. I'd be really surprised. Maybe they jump in for game 3, just for a half, kind of get acclimated just a little bit. I mean, Frank Vogel and Rob Pelinka have been saying all along, we're going to talk to them a lot. We're going to communicate with them, with the representatives. Whatever they feel like doing, we're going to try to accommodate them. They have to play the big TV games, so they're going to be out there on the 22nd for the season opener, and then 3 days later for Dallas on Christmas Day. But maybe they start punting a couple games after that. Maybe you got the back-to-back on the 27th and the 28th. Maybe they sit out one of those 2 games.
What do you think, BT? I mean, you're not worried about them, but you do maybe want to give them a little burn, but, you want to navigate through it.
You need some time just for them to get in basketball shape, and also to have LeBron and AD to learn how to play with Marcus Gasol, to play with Montrezl Harrell, Dennis Schroeder, Wesley Matthews. Those things don't happen overnight, although I keep hearing that it's working out really good in the practice sessions. But you need both guys, AD and LeBron, to get their win, to get their game back together, their legs back together underneath them. But the key is making sure that they are healthy and they don't sustain any injuries along the way.
Now, speaking of LeBron and AD, Markieff Morris posted this on Instagram today.
Boys in the parking lot. Look at them. 2 twins. Look at them. Come in close. Look at them. Niggas in the parking lot. Crazy out here in LA.
So that's Markieff Morris having some fun. You got LeBron and AD just chilling. So listen, earlier we heard Frank Vogel mention how players need to kind of adapt to playing at Staples Center with no fans. What are some of the challenges you guys foresee playing regular season games in arenas like Staples Center with no fans? Remember what it was like in the bubble, the adjustment that it took. This is going to be even much different than that.
Yeah, the bubble, small arena. Maybe you fit a couple thousand people in there, and they had the giant big screens all around, the fans of the day popping in and out of the TVs down there. Now you're talking like 19,000, 20,000 seat arenas. Might be some blind spots if you're shooting jumpers with no one in the seats. It's going to be a bizarre situation. Just when you think 2020 can't get any more unique and unusual, Here we go. Now they're in giant, unfilled arenas.
I'm curious, BT, because the guys in the bubble, maybe they'll be a little more used to it than some of the players